All right, we are live on Facebook. This is Heather Stocking with the Athabasca Advocate. It is April 13th. It is not a Friday. And we are here with Town of Athabasca Mayor Rob Balay. We have a few exciting things to talk about this week, but before we get into those, I would like to actually bring up some of the other things, the less obvious stuff. So let's talk about, because this is also very exciting, Highway 55 project is getting underway.
It is. So we were informed that the project is going to be scheduled earlier in the year than later, which is great. So as far as we know, it's supposed to start in June sometimes, where they'll actually start the actual work. I see some surveying and stuff done already, and it was extended all the way to Muskeg Creek. Originally, the project was just going to be from the Union Hotel east, but now they've decided to do it right from Muskeg Creek. So that's even better for us.
So just this side of that little bridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Is where
yeah, I was trying to figure out, because it's like 0.7 something of a kilometer that they're doing, but I'd have to go out and measure because I wasn't sure if it was like just to the corner at Tipton's or what. Okay, so Muskeg Creek right through. Okay.
That's what we've been informed of.
Okay. Well, so on the sheet that the project manager sent me, it does show, but again, it's not to scale and it doesn't show all the things, but yeah, it did say that it was starting. Yeah. So that's good. What else? They're not just doing the highway though.
No, they're we may get our fire hall parking lot done as well. So that's would be great as part of that project. That's not totally confirmed yet, but
okay. Well, they're doing some curbs right along that. Do you know what's happening at that 34th Street Highway 55 where like you would turn to go to A&W or whatever? They're changing that, right?
Yeah, so that's becoming where you can only go you can only exit to the east coming out of that intersection. If you're so there'll be no left-hand turns from where the health unit is downtown. That'll be one-way traffic that way. So, and you'll have to exit if you want to come back downtown. It'll have to either be at the Canadian Tire intersection or the one by Hunter Motors.
Okay.
So and they're widening it out a designated lane as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a turning lane. So you can't even go straight across if you're there. You can't go straight across to go to A&W. You'd have to go around and. Okay.
That's how I understand it is to be designed. Yes.
Interesting. Well, there have been several accidents. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we had a truck that was like on its side, got hit T-bone in that intersection. So
sooner or later, there was going to be more than a serious accident, possibly a fatality. So this should definitely improve the safety factor in that intersection.
You have to be somewhere at 3 o'clock today to discuss another project that's high on people's minds. What's at 3 o'clock?
Well, I don't personally, but our administration does. Our CAO and our superintendent of public works are meeting with representatives from Alberta Transportation, and I'm assuming the contractor as well, the general, on just some details with the service road on the project by the waste management site. So just some things on the sloping and whether or not we'll actually have to require to move the fence line a few feet for the waste management site. So they're going to have a discussion on that. So that means that we're getting close to starting the project. So that's been a long time coming. So it's quite exciting for the community. I mean, this is the long project. It's going to be almost 3 years before it's completed. And that's if everything goes on time, right? So, it's exciting to get this ball rolling this summer for sure.
Yeah. So they're confident that they've solved the sloughing issue, because that was the big part of the big problem, and why it was delayed was the banks are moving.
Yeah, and they moved in a different direction than they originally had thought. So that really threw a wrench into things. So, the engineers had to go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to tie in the abutments where the movement would cause the least amount of damage, I guess, or have the least amount of impact.
Okay. One of the questions that was posted was, will there be any work on the Wood Heights Road?
Well, other than maintenance for this year, no, that wasn't in our capital budget plan for this year. There was other projects were a higher priority due to, I guess, environmental reasons for the river and our lagoons and sewer project. So that took precedence over that. So we will do our best, to maintain it and keep it in I guess, a good enough repair that people, aren't going to complain too much when they have to travel on it. So
they don't end up with butter from their milk by the time they get home.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But it is on the horizon coming. I can't make any promises that it'll be in next year's budget. It'll be discussed in next year's budget. Unfortunately, we still have one more year of where the funding has been reduced significantly. We won't reach back to full funding to what we used to get until 2025. So we've got a couple lean years in here where we're not going to be able to get as much done as we would like, but hopefully once the infrastructure funding is restored to the levels prior to 2021 or 2022, we should be able to catch up a little bit at that point.
Okay. The Union Hotel, also major concern for many residents in the town.
Yeah, well, we have met with the owners and had discussions with them. I guess I can't really divulge what those discussions are really were, but just that we had some discussions and hopefully some good things come out of that. The hotel is open. The ALGC allowed them to open and reissued their license, and so did the health inspector.
Okay.
So they're back in business for now. There's still no restaurant, and they're not renting out rooms.
Oh, but the bar area is open.
Bar, yes, they have VLTs and the bar is open. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. The doctor recruitment. There was a grant for the doctor recruitment. And
well, we're applying for a grant. So it's a grant it's a fairly small grant. It's $3,000, but it's to hold sort of for the committee's discretion to hold to spend on I guess whichever way they feel is the most beneficial for their community to help retain and attract healthcare workers. So we're in the process of applying for that. A couple of things we're thinking of doing is creating a video specific to healthcare attraction. There's been a couple other communities that have done that because we're part of the Reside program. And in all likelihood will probably be. I'm hoping that we will be extended for an extra year as well, our community. And so that'll be beneficial. Another thing we're thinking of putting on is sort of a healthcare trade fair at the high school.
Oh, okay.
and bring in different I guess X-ray technicians, nurses, doctors, all kinds of healthcare, physiotherapists, and have them come and actually present at a one-day conference or something, and bring in some of the other high schools from the area,
Right.
and get young young people interested in going into that field. So, it's something that we can do. It's not going to solve our problem immediately, but maybe it's long term. It's time we started doing something like that.
Yeah, because the healthcare isn't just about doctors. There's many other positions that are needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, lab techs, everybody, maintenance, dietary, housekeeping, all of it. So
yeah, well, if you think how much money the provincial government spends on the healthcare system, it's by far the biggest chunk of money that goes to any one single entity. So it's healthcare, and it's important.
It is important. That's right.
Yeah. And I guess before I forget, we're the committee has recommended another name for the fourth public member. So, and it'll be ratified at Tuesday's council meeting. So we'll at least have full participation from our public sector. So that's great. Okay. So it'll be announced at Tuesday. I don't want to announce before. So.
Right. But at the last meeting, the Reeve of the MDO opportunity joined, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that is something you can talk about.
Yeah. So and Marcel Auger, the Reeve, was there, and he was very interested, and he's going to continue he sees value in it. And also we've reached out to Buffalo Lake Métis Settlement, and they indicated that they will have a representative as well. We've yet to see that person, but eventually I think that is going to happen as well.
Okay. All right. And and then another local person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After Tuesday, you can announce who it is.
Yeah.
Okay. We did get a couple questions about why there were 2 or 3 Canadian Forces jets flying overhead last week. Did you hear anything about that? Or
well, there's this top secret mission going on that I've been sworn to secrecy for, but no, actually, I do not know anything about that.
Okay. All right.
I wish there was a top secret that I did know about. But.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you kind of did. I mean, before the announcement with Premier Kenney, you knew.
Yeah, I knew what was coming. Yeah, but
so you're really good at keeping a secret.
Yeah. Well, I was looking forward to that announcement. Believe me.
Yeah, so let's just segue right into that.
Oh, that was very clever, very clever.
There you go. So there was March 24th, Premier Kenney was up here, Minister of Advanced Education, Demetrius Nicolaides, and they pretty much laid the hammer down.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they gave some, I think some real straightforward directives and for the university to come up with. I was, to me, was not so much about Athabasca University. It was that their message, I think, was to all of rural Alberta, and the importance of keeping rural economies strong and thriving. And this was a way for them to show that they're willing to do something about that. So it was really great for our town, because specifically it was for us, but it was a good indicator for all other rural communities that the government is and does care about that. Mm-hmm. So that was great.
Right, but
and it was so good to see so many people out. When the premier and the ministers realized there was that many people there, they were very, very impressed with our community. So thank you to everyone out there for showing up.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and the live stream is still available. We actually have a YouTube channel because the live stream was so long we couldn't upload it directly to the website. So we had to create a YouTube channel just for it.
Oh, just for that. Okay.
Honestly, and it worked out well because now we can share all the town talks through the YouTube channel.
There you go.
So
bonus.
And they've already been viewed through YouTube, so that's interesting. But yeah, so they made the announcement. Everybody cheered. Everybody was really happy. The Athabasca University Faculty Association President David Powell stood up. He was obviously quite, happy with what was said. As Alpha, is in negotiations with AU, but then the newly installed president, Dr. Peter Scott, turns around and issues a statement that seems to defy what was said.
Yeah, I was a little, that caught me a little bit off guard. I wasn't expecting that response. I'm a little shocked. I think I was surprised by some of the words he chose. Like, he talked about the government officials had made comments and had opinions. Well, it just wasn't the government officials. It was the premier of our province and the advanced minister of education who didn't give comments or opinions. They gave directives and for the university with deadlines to meet. So I was very glad to see the response by the minister and his announcement on April 7th. And then even yesterday in the CBC interview that was issued this morning. So I think we'll put probably, I don't know where people can get that link, but it was very encouraging to hear how direct the minister was in telling the university that no, this is a directive and you shall, and he will full-heartedly be expecting that report to be issued by the deadline of June 30th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a very straightforward article. You were interviewed as well, if you want to give people an overview of what you said.
Well, it was just basically, we talked about about the AU's response to the initial announcement and just what I thought about that. So I, read the article, you'll hear what I had to say. And, basically I said that, our community was thankful to the government for listening to our lobbying efforts and actually, coming through and doing something about rural Alberta's economic future, the sustainability of all rural Alberta and specifically Athabasca in this instance. So it was great. It was awesome that they listened and they acted. Mm-hmm. That doesn't always happen.
Right. So this is an issue that was identified probably 6 or 7 years ago. And, slowly staff were leaving the area and they weren't being replaced. But it wasn't until AU started their real virtual campus campaign that the community group got involved, correct?
Yeah, because we saw potentially that eventually the bleed was going to be to where there was virtually nobody left working in our community that would actually live and support our community. And it didn't make any sense to us to have all those buildings empty, right? I don't think it can make sense to anybody. So, sort of enough was enough when we got to that point, and we, got really serious about lobbying the government to make sure that wasn't the case.
Do you think that it definitely made a difference with getting the lobbying group involved and paying for that?
Oh, yeah. Well, it definitely made a difference to have a professional lobbyist on staff for us. You can have your opinions about whether or not that should be necessary or not, but unfortunately, that's the environment we live in. And if you want to be heard and heard seriously, that's what you have to do. And I don't think we would have got the results, not that we ended up with, and certainly not as fast as the results that we ended up with without that. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost was the members of our community that got organized and decided that and worked so hard to make sure that Athabasca University was going to be, or the executive and the board was going to be held accountable for the decisions that they made or were making.
All right. So the minister has stated that there's a deadline of June 30th, so it's just a holding pattern for now?
Yeah, for now. We have to be fair here. Once the directive has been issued, we have to let the university come forward and work on a plan that's going to work for them as well as for our community. Personally, I don't see how this affects their Imagine plan. I mean, we would love to see the university grow to 200, 300, 400,000, 500,000 students and have 10,000 employees. What we want is to see a minimum of the buildings that are here filled and those people that are working those buildings living in our community. So if that's 500 of them, well, the other 9,500 can work virtually. And before they even talked about the virtual plan, there was probably close to 60% working virtually anyways prior to that, because it makes sense for the tutors and some of the academics to work virtually, but not the core group. I mean, I think that's, in my opinion, that's what's needed is for them to stay here and be a part of this community and to feel like they are part of the community. I think that's, I think the employees miss that too. So from what we've been told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the comments that I've heard is just because their students are virtual doesn't mean all the staff have to be virtual.
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wait closer to the date. It was
both our community and town council and county council and the village of Boyle council, we're all willing to do our part. If the university needs something from us, we're going to do our part to work with them so that everyone thrives.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to see what comes out of this, and then working forward from there.
Yeah. I mean, where the university is situated geographically here in this town, it has access to so many things, right? It's farmland, forestry, it's along an energy corridor, there's wetlands, there's all sorts of things. So it should fit in nicely. And it's not that far. It's really not that far. I mean, how many people, can raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I've gone to Edmonton at least twice in 1 week,
I think, if it's marketed properly, I think you can attract the best of the best if you want to work hard at doing that. If you just, and I don't know that that's actually happened to date. Mm-hmm. So, we're more than willing to work with them to see that happens. And I think that's where we can play a role.
Right.
Is in marketing. This is a place that you want to come and work and live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but I mean, even at that, if there's 10,000 surgeons and they tell me that my surgeon is going to be the 10th top guy in the world, I'm not going to turn that down.
No, absolutely not.
Right? It doesn't make sense to say we need the absolute top when.
Yeah, well, I mean, the university has grown to what it was prior to this, to 40,000 plus students, with all the employees and the presidents living here. So I don't see why that can't continue.
And I don't know how many times in the past 2.5 years I've written articles about staff, about professors who have gotten awards and recognition for all sorts of things. The staff that they have really are
exceptional. They're exceptional. You're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of insulting, I think, in one way to say we're holding out for the best of the best, but these people really are showing that they are the best already. So,
yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding sort of thing, right? So the university has excelled up to this point, and there's no reason why it can't keep excelling. We can grow the student base by having it expand the virtual part of it, but it doesn't mean that the workforce has to be 100% virtual as well.
Right. So we're gonna go off that. We're almost out of time here, but we're just gonna talk. There was over the winter, was there some sort of incident with a snowmobile in the skateboard park?
Well, yeah, there was some of the, I guess, some snowmobilers taking liberties and driving in places where they're not supposed to be driving. As it turns out, no damage. When we inspected, there was no damage done. But we have met with the local snowmobile club, and it was a great meeting. They're going to work with administration to further designate some routes and do some more community education on that, and maybe even grow it further so that there's, apparently we didn't know this, but there's a real stigma about people on snowmobiles scared to come into Athabasca because they think that they're not supposed to be here, and we don't want them here, and that's not the case at all. So we're going to work hard with and closely with the local club and see if we can come up with some plans that will be more welcoming and more inviting, and quite frankly help our businesses out as well. So there's more and more of a tourist industry with that developing, and why wouldn't we want to be a part of that and help make it grow in our community if there's a good way to do it.
Has the town been approached by the county of Lac Saint Anne? They're wanting to do a sort of a study about maybe doing a regional trail system. Have you guys? I know that I know they sent a letter to the county.
Yeah, no, that might be part of the Trans-Canada Trail. I'm not sure, which is only a little bit of it is in the town boundaries. I don't recall seeing anything come across my desk. Doesn't mean it didn't come across our CAO's desk and might not be bringing it forward to us, but I don't recall anything specifically about that right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they had some money left over, and they were looking at doing a study with other communities about the possibility and developing it into like a tourism thing, right?
Yeah. So the potential's there for sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, did you have anything pressing you wanted to add? We've got a couple minutes left. I haven't got any. I got texted some stuff, but I didn't get anything on the Facebook.
No, I think that's about it for now. We got to save something for next time. So
the brick schoolhouse, that's still.
Yeah. Well, we did. We did approve to spend some money to go forward with starting with the abatement program. So that'll be the first thing in order to make it a safe place to complete to continue on with the renovations. We have to make sure that the asbestos abatement is completed. So we've allocated the resource to go to RFQs and get that work done so that then we can start planning the next stages.
Okay. No acronyms. What's RFQ?
Request for quotes or request for proposals.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right. Yeah. So we will. Well, I guess we'll see you in about a month. And
okay. Look forward to it. All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.